All right. So let's just get straight to well, okay, I guess we can't get straight to the case. We're doing a live stream, so we got to give people a moment to get in. So, hey, everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and we've been doing like a live stream most nights, as we're all stuck indoors and we're trying to keep in contact with one another. And you know what? I'm looking forward to things going back to the way they are. I know it's not going to be right away. I know it's going to take some time. And hey, we've got Pete in the house. What do you do? How you doing? So, but I read something, and this is strictly not rideshare related. Just giving you a heads up. This is not rideshare related per se. This has nothing to do with the gig economy. That's nothing to do with apps. But I read this, and frankly, I'm a little pissed. I'm a little pissed. Oh, it's your first chat with us, Anthony. Thank you for joining us. Be- I'm sorry you're gonna get. I'm sorry you're gonna get me. You're gonna get me pissed off on live. But anyway, I have been. I've been watching the daily press conferences by the president and the governor of California and the governor of New York. And whether or not I agree with these men politically or not, I think they're doing the best that they can. I think they're doing the best that they can. And one person that I especially admire is Dr. Fauci. I think Dr. Fauci has been a great voice of reason for President Trump and the rest of the world. He's given very sensible advice during this time of pandemic, and he's the kind of person that, when he speaks, you understand the gravity of the situation, but there's also a sense that we're in this together and we are going to make through it. Unfortunately, Dr. Fauci said something today that I read it and I was so blown away that it was said that it's like, are you nuts? Like, what hope does this give anyone for you to say something this asinine? Now, here's the thing. I joke all the time that I'm antisocial. And it's kind of true. In real life, I'm a little shy. But the thing is, I still like meeting people, and once in a while someone will recognize me in public. And they'll walk up to me and they'll say, "Hey, are you Kevin?" Most of the time they say, "Hey, you Kevin?" It's like from YouTube. It's like, yes, I am. And we say hi, we share some things, we shake hands, and I usually give him a shout out, him or her, sometime, on one of the videos. Well, Dr. Fauci, and this was a headline from The Hill. The headline said, "Fauci, I don't think we should shake hands ever again." And I was like, what? Wait, what? No, he didn't say that, did he? But sure enough, he did. The Wall Street Journal podcast, he told them anyway, when you gradually come back, you don't jump into it with both feet. I agree. You say, what are the things you could still do and still approach normal? I agree. One of them is absolute compulsive hand washing. The other is that you don't ever shake anybody's hand. Now, I thought that's where this was going to end. It's like, okay, they're doing this headline thing and they're trying to stir people up. But no, he continued. He said, I don't think we should ever shake hands ever again, to be honest with you. Not only would it be good to prevent the C virus disease, it probably would decrease instances of influenza dramatically in the country. He also added, by the way, that there was a light at the end of the tunnel by the end of April. So that's an interesting thing that's an interesting note to end on. And you know what? That's a very disappointing quote to come from Dr. Fauci. And granted, it's not like my handshake is that manly anyway, but whatever. People can make fun of it all they want. But the thing is, look, we are going through a tough time right now. We're going through a tough time. I read on Facebook, one of my friends, in fact, I'll even pull it up without mentioning their name. It was actually kind of sad to read. First have to get through all of the. I know a lot of Bernie supporters, and they're having a bad day. But she wrote, "I'm trying desperately to remember what life was like before all this happened, but I'm failing so much now." I'm not going to make fun of this person. You know what? It's been a month, okay? It's been a month, and in some ways it's gone by fast. In other ways, it's gone by really slowly. We have given up a lot of things we like doing. We don't eat out anymore. We don't go to movies. We don't go to theme parks. We don't go to sporting events. My niece had to have her birthday party canceled, her sixth birthday party canceled. And my other niece, who turned 7, can't have a birthday party at all, never even got to the planning stages. But here's the thing. We beat this thing and we win by eventually going back to what we were doing before. It might take a little while. It's probably going to take until at least we get a vaccination. But life will return to normal. It's only been a month, which is not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things. In fact, if Dr. Fauci is being true to his word, not true to his word, he's estimating, I should say. If he believes that there's a light at the end of the tunnel by April, then 2-3 months tops, we'll be back. We'll be moving back to what normal looks like. But for him to say we should never, ever shake hands again? Like, why? Like, why? At some point, we'll have a vaccination. And the viruses will go down. Here's the thing. Once you catch this thing, you are unlikely to catch it again. Those people are going to be fine in the long run. You know, their immune system will probably be built up. Granted, they're going to have scarring on the lungs, and who knows what that's going to do to them. But they're unlikely to catch this virus again. You should not be saying things like that, ever. It's like, look, I understand. When we first start going back, you can't shake hands right away. I understand it. And that's fine. And maybe he's also thinking like, well, this will reduce the flu or something. You know, hey, you get sick less when you shake hands. But you know what? Shaking hands is a very personal thing. It's a way to say, I mean, look, from what I understand about where the handshake came from, and maybe I'm wrong, but here's the thing. The whole thing about if I believe the history of where the handshake came from, it came from the Wild West where, you know, people held guns and they would pull out the guns and shoot you. Well, to show that you were a friend, you would extend your hand, showing there was no gun in the hand. That's at least the story behind the modern day handshake. And it's a good way to introduce one another. You can learn a lot by someone from their handshake, to be perfectly honest. And that is never going to go away. I do agree that when we start going back to things, we're probably not going to be doing it for a little while. But we will beat this thing. You know, we thought years ago, we thought the flu was going to destroy everybody, and it did a lot of damage. And then our bodies learned to cope with it. We got the vaccinations. We learned to cope, and we will do this with the virus that's currently out in the air. But for Fauci to actually say, like, we should never, ever do this again, like, why? You know, it's like, why? Like, what, are we going to allow just consistently live in fear? Like, we're going to always be separated from people because of what might happen? This is a very unique and strange thing. It's extraordinary. It's unprecedented. It's not something that's going to happen every single year. It's like, and Dr. Fauci, like when he says something like this, even though I don't think he intends to, in fact, again, he highlighted that not shaking hands would decrease instances of influenza dramatically. Okay, maybe that's his mentality he's coming from. Like, hey, it can decrease this. Maybe, you know, you don't catch the flu as often. And that might be his thinking, but it's like the personal connection you lose with people when you take away something like that. It's like, you know, that is something I would never give up. You know what? If it ever got to the point where it's like, hey, you can never touch someone ever again, like, no, like, you know, there's no handshakes. Like, where does that leave hugs? Like a lot of people, show affection to family members and good friends with hugs. Like, is that going to go away too now? You can't, you can't change things like these, okay? I agree there will probably be some long-term things that change as a result of this. I I believe that next time we get even a whiff of a virus, there's going to be travel restrictions from now on. I truly believe that. I believe working from home is going to be way more prevalent with a lot of works. In fact, I don't think working from home is going to stop even when society starts reopening up, because not only is this a good way to curb the spread of diseases and stuff like that, but guess what? It reduces traffic, it reduces pollution. It means that companies don't need as much real estate, so maybe they can become homes. There's a lot of advantage to a lot of people working from home or remotely, I should say. I think the future is going to be like most companies will hire someone, they work there in a building for like 3 months or so, and then they work from home because you can just do that now. I believe there will be some long-term changes like that. But if we are to lose the handshake in all of this, then I don't know. I think we're giving up way too much at this point. I think we're giving up way too much. Now, here's the thing. This thing aside, I do want to also add a little bit of positivity, because Dr. Fauci has at least a reason to believe that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. The new cases by the day are dwindling, even in the United States, by quite a bit. And President Trump is actually prepared to unveil a second C virus task force. Now, what would the purpose of the second task force be, you might be asking at this point, when they already have one that's there to combat the virus? The idea of the second task force is to prepare plans for reopening the economy, because you can't just turn everything back on. And this is the task that's going to have to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with like all those months that people couldn't pay rent? What are we going to do? How can we try to get as many of those jobs back? So we have officials who are preparing for America to reopen again. I'm going to personally, just because I'm trying to be a glass half full type of person, we're halfway there. Like I'm hoping we're halfway there, and things will be opening up slowly, but we will start getting back to normal. And you know what? When a year from now, when this is all a memory, I'm sorry, Dr. Fauci, when we have the vaccination, when people are back to work full time, all that jazz, I'm going to be shaking people's hands saying, I am happy to see you. I might even give some hugs to friends. And I'm not much of a hugger. I frankly don't like hugs that much. I've not been deprived because my wife hugs me a lot. But, I've been deprived from seeing some people so long, I might actually give them hugs. So, I'm looking forward to visiting my nieces and nephews again. They're probably going to jump in my arms, and I'm going to be happy to hug them. So I was very disappointed in what Dr. Fauci said. And I know that this is not the topic that we typically talk on this channel. I try to avoid politics unless it relates to the gig economy specifically, but I was just so shocked that he would actually say that. Because, it's like, look, I know you got to be realistic, but there's got to be hope. If you're like telling people we're never going to go to movies again, we are never going to shake hands again, we are never going to have birthday parties again, we are never going to congregate ever again, you know what? People are going to rightfully rebel against that. And you know what's going to happen at that point? Well, we'll peak out, we'll lose a few million people, and then life will get back to normal for the people who caught it and moved on. So that I was a little disappointed in Fauci today, and I mean, it was enough where I was actually going to go to bed early today. I was going to skip tonight's live stream because we've been doing so many of them, but I just had to complain about that one. So anyway, now for the rest of the video, for those of you who might not be watching this live, this is where like the main topic ends, and I'm now going to be corresponding with the people who are in the chat, going to answer questions. We're going to hang a little bit because, hey, we're live and this is fun. It's fun to spend time with people. But hey, we've got 31 people watching. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, give it a thumbs up. I definitely appreciate that. So let's go back to the top. There's obviously going to be a little bit of a delay in responding to people, but we've got Steven in the house, we've got Ryan, we've got Pete, aka Paid to Drive, we've got Queenie Brooksy, Anthony D, who again, this is his first live stream. He's joining, so thank you. And Andrea, it's always fun to see you, Andrea. I've actually met Andrea in real life. We met at a Costco, so that was fun. And Steven says, all I notice when it comes to what's going on is people not wearing the correct mask and also wear it not on correctly. Oh yeah, actually, I know someone who went out, wore gloves, wore the mask, and still got the virus. Why? Because her nose itched, so she kept going like, and it's like, well, then that stuff doesn't do anything. So, obviously not going to say who that was. Hey, Romeo's here, and Rick's here. I like the live at night. Yeah, I've been enjoying the live at night. It might become a staple for a little while. You never know. Life-size box says, land of the free, home of the brave, or land of the fee, home of the slave. No, I don't agree with that, because here's the thing. Yeah, we're being asked to stay indoors, and the government can mandate some businesses close, but they're not doing it because they're mad at us or anything. They're doing it because there's a health crisis going on. And technically, some states are still saying, yeah, you can still go outside. It's just very strongly discouraged for obvious reasons. Andrea says, I'm losing faith in Fauci. If it were up to him, we'd be locked down until we have everyone vaccinated. We can't do that. Well, yeah, I mean, Fauci is. Here's one of the things I'm going to say, and I should probably mention this when I mentioned the handshake thing. Dr. Fauci is a doctor, and as such, let me see. Is this? No, that's the wrong person. Sorry. As such, he's thinking from a medical perspective, and that's why I actually think that, I actually kind of like the Trump trilogy right now. Trump is the leader. He comes with the plans. He doesn't know how he's going to do them, but hey, we've got to get the plan done. That's what the leader does. Then you have Dr. Fauci, who it's like, I'm the medical plan. I can tell you how the plan gets done, but he can be really extreme. And then you have, I keep forgetting that girl's name, unfortunately. But she's the one who's kind of like the mediator between the two. So, I think they're all working well off of each other, and they're all doing the best that they can. So that's my thoughts on that. But there you go. So Sandy Man says, I don't see Kevin providing a very manly handshake anyway, so we're not missing out on much. Oh. Wait, who has that avatar? Is that Beavis? Oh, it's Beavis. Okay. Life Size Box says, I'm not taking a vaccine over this BS. I don't know what that means. Does that mean you will never want to take a vaccine? Because vaccines will prevent a lot of things. I take all my vaccines except the flu shot. And I can't take the flu shot because I had Guillain-Barré when I was a kid, and the flu shot will kill me. So I guess I just got to deal with the flu every year. Because he's a deep state, we're not going to justify that. Just having a little fun with you. Got to love the trolls too. Yeah, nope, you got to love the trolls too. They leave comments, they interact, so, they help the channel thrive as well. Steve says it has not been that long. It really hasn't been that long. It just feels like it's been very long. Let's see here. Life Size Box. Epidemiologist. The C virus could be exterminated if lockdowns lifted. No, okay. Let me explain what happens there. Not that I'm a doctor, of course. Hold on one second. Because some people need to see this, apparently. Let me find an image that shows what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is from Michigan Medicine, and you've probably seen this chart a lot. How many people will die if you don't do anything compared to what happens if we all step in and do our part and flatten the curve. Now, here's the thing. We are doing this because we don't want this many people to die. We don't want this many people to die either, but we really don't want this amount of people to die. But you'll notice something. Notice how the not doing anything is done a heck of a lot faster than if we do something. If we do something, we will save lives, but it will get dragged out a little bit. So you know what? Yeah, if you lifted the restrictions and people did this thing, we would be done with this a lot faster. But look at the cost. Look at the cost. It's too many people dying. Here's the line for our hospital capabilities. If it gets beyond that, people will definitely die because they can't get the health care they need. That is the point of flattening the curve. So yes, if you lift the restrictions, this will be over sooner, but I do not want that on my conscience. So no, I will deal with this for a few months if it will save those people. Rick says, I haven't been to a fast food joint since the end of January. Well, I mean, you could. They're doing drive-through. It's like life size box. I've searched these things, but you know what? No, they're most. I mean, I'm sorry, but the doctors, the scientists are for the most part in a pretty big agreement. Like, no, this is the best way that it works. So, Brooksy says, I watched it today. He said it would greatly cut down on getting the flu. Well, we've also got the flu. What's the flu vaccination for? Okay. It's Moose says 2 months ago, who would have thought we would be in this position? It's like a bad dream. It is. Queen Brooksy said way more people died from the flu. No, actually, that is officially not the case anymore. In fact, worldwide, the C virus deaths are definitely overtaking the flu. So, yeah, the flu kills more people was true a week or two ago. It's not true anymore. So, Andrea says, I'm going to lose my home if we wait for a vaccine. That's a year and a half away. We need to get back to work. So, unfortunately, Andrea, if I'm reading this correctly, I'm assuming either you and your husband or both of your jobs have been affected by this. I'm really sorry about that. I feel your pain to a certain extent. I've had to lose some work. Our income is not what it used to be. It's enough. Thank God it's enough to probably get through this, but it took a hit. Like this year we were planning for vacations, a house, building up the Criterion collection, and well, a lot of that has to be put on hold now. So I understand to a certain extent where you're coming from, and I know some friends who are also like both their jobs have been affected. It's going to be ugly, and for some people the stimulus check will not pay the rent. So I'm very sorry that's happening. I'm very sorry that's happening. One of the things that I'm thinking is going to happen here, and hopefully this isn't you per se, but I think like in like California and Washington, San Francisco, New York City, these really expensive places where they're out of work for months on end, I think people are going to start leaving those cities and go to rural areas that cost a heck of a lot less money. So I think the population is going to be spread out a little bit more. And that might be a good thing long term. Some rural towns that were on the verge of dying might get an influx of people, and the big cities might lose some people, which might cause rent to come down. Like, who knows? Like, that's why you have to kind of wait and see what happens. I do know but I do know like rent's going to definitely go down in California, where you and I think live in the same area, but because they can't charge the rent that they're charging now, not with all of this going on. So, but I definitely feel sorry for you. Well, I'm not saying like I feel sorry for you. It's like I feel for your situation. It's a crappy situation to be in. All right, Rick says, I'm not into handshaking thing. I'm kind of Howie Mandelish myself. Well, that's fine if you didn't like it anyway. Jody, hey, how you doing again? Says there are some religions that involve handshakes. That's what he said is not going to work. Well, it's kind of interesting. That's an interesting comment that you make because at least in my religion, there's nothing in the Bible that says you have to handshake, and I don't think there's anything in Catholicism that says you have to handshake. It's just something they do. So I don't know. Does anyone know of a religion where it's like there's in the written text you have to handshake? That would be interesting. Sandy Man says, I had a landscaper who had a handshake like a dead fish. It was the weakest handshake I've ever felt. And Andrea says, bad handshakes freak me out. Well, hey, we shook hands. How was my handshake, by the way? Was it bad? I hope it wasn't, but, you could actually tell everyone what my handshake was like, because we've shaken hands. A life-size box says, The numbers are greatly exaggerated. Well, look, this is the John Hoskins website. Hopkins. And this is the official numbers, and they're high. So yeah, if you want to be a tinfoil hat person, you're allowed to do so, but there you go. So Rick says, I think strong handshakes can be weak people. A lot of ladies in the business would have disliked enduring man-crushing handshakes for years. Probably. Romeo says about restaurant was drive-through, and Tena Mirno says hello. Dancy says, nope, we won't be getting back to normal. I would expect the worst after this. Keep your guns. Well, you know what? I'm going to highlight. I'm just going to mention it. World War One, World War Two, 9/11, Pearl Harbor, a lot, invasion of Iraq. So many situations where people are like, we will never be normal again. We will never go back to normal. And it's like, we did go back to normal. We did. So there you go. Ryan says, would you be surprised if Disneyland is closed all summer? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm actually half expecting it, to be honest. So anyway, I'm going to start skipping you, life size box. No offense, but you're great. Well, I'm not going to say that, but you feel strongly about your position, and I'm willing to, of course, look at other sources and other points of view. But that said, I'm going to always be comparing it to the numbers, the official numbers, and the official numbers are definitely going against what you're saying. So Romeo says, I bet the restaurant with dine-in will chance forever. No, it won't. People still want to go. Here's the thing. People still want to go out. That's the reason people are freaking out. Like, everyone's acting like, oh, we'll never go out to do these things again. It's like, no, we will, because we like doing them. And we'd be doing them now if we could. So, yeah, it's going to take a little while, but people are waiting to go back to doing these things. So anyway, Ryan says, I would definitely want to shake your hand if I get to meet you one day. Yeah, me too. Similar. We'll definitely shake hands, provided safe to do so. Sandyman said they also said that restaurants are only going to be half the people that they get used to because they got to space around. Yeah, that will probably be at least one of the temporary changes when we come back. And I've said it before. They're going to be saying, okay, you can only have this many people and they have to be seated like this. So I believe that will be the norm for a while, at least until a vaccination comes out. So, Sandy Man says, have you left the house yet, Kevin? I have stuck my head out once a week, maybe twice in some situations, and it's only for essentials. For the most part, I've been indoors. Feels like I've been on the space station or something. Ben says, what I miss? You missed a lot of talking. Rick Review says, as far as I know for Catholics, I learned it's rude if you're a guy to extend your hand out to a woman. Oh, I didn't know that, so that's interesting. Velazar said maybe he's right. People will use same method as Chinese, like I don't know what you're referring to exactly. Andrea says let hairdressers and barbers open up. Our licenses require pretty heavy duty education on healthy and safety. Well, oh, you're a hairdresser. I see. Well, here's. That's an interesting pickle to be in. Interestingly, I know some people who, well, Andrea, why don't you, I don't know what equipment you have, but if you have a fair amount of equipment and you can do fairly decent haircuts and hairstylings and nail painting and stuff, I could let people on Facebook know that who are local that might want to do that, and if they don't mind coming into contact with you, maybe they can throw you some business. I don't know. That is a pickle though, because yeah, if someone has the virus, you can be as safe as you want, but they're getting it on your materials and your equipment and things like that. So but yeah, I can see how that would hurt. Romeo says, I bet the restaurant will cut the rent space to be carry out and drive through, and You can't always do that though. I mean, have you seen like an Olive Garden? Like, look at how big those places are. You can't cut anything out of there. You can't. So it doesn't work that way. So they're gonna have to get back to normal at some point. If they deliver food hot, I would have no problem with that. Most do, because people have work in the day and some work in the night. They can watch live in the night plus the time zone difference. Oh, probably time. Trump shout out in the House. Well, look, I see no reason to disrespect the man at this moment in time. I disagree with some of the things he does, a lot of the things he does, quite a few of the things he does, but I still respect the president because my parents raised me to respect the leaders. And if I don't like them, I can vote them out come November. Jody says, whether people agree with Trump or not, people should give him some credit at this point. Yeah, I will say he has definitely stepped up and had he been this way most of his presidency, instead of going on rants and Twitter tirades and stuff, I kind of wonder how my opinion of him would have changed, quite honestly. Because he's actually acting the way I want him to act. I mean, he's still saying goofy things sometimes because that's just who he is, and he does not like the press at all. But I mean, for the most part, he's been calm, he's been rational. So it's like, where was this guy the last 3.5 years? So Dr. Burks, oh, you're probably not talking to me. That was funny. What about when you go out? Do you have a large bubble? No, I don't, but I do wear gloves and a mask. Hey, driver Steve's here. He says, I haven't had the flu in 15 years. I haven't taken a flu shot since then either. Maybe I got the flu because I got the flu shot back then. Who knows? The flu shot is something that you have to typically get every year, though, so you must have just been very fortunate. Velizner said, so many God believers, but all of them afraid of dying. No one wants to go meet the God. Actually, there's a lot that's I don't even know how to respond to that one, because it's like, I mean, that's like telling like a daredevil who likes risking his life with motorcycle stunts and stuff, like, so you're a daredevil, you get a thrill out of the hunt, right? It's like, so you don't care if you die? It's like, no, I do care if I die. I know it's a risk, but I like the thrill. So that's the thing with Christians, that it's like, look, they want to go to heaven, they want to meet God, but you know what? They why rush there though? Why rush there? There's work to do here as well, okay? There's people who don't believe that need to be talked to. And in fact, there are some Christians who are not afraid of death at all. They're going to church, they're congregating. I wish they would not do that, but they don't fear death. I mean, they also, some of them don't fear death because they're covered by the blood of Jesus, which it's like, me and my wife had to laugh at that lady, because it's like, hey, the blood of Jesus absolves you from your sins. It doesn't mean you don't get sick. A lot of Christians get cancer. So, but that's like an unfair comment. So, you should be ashamed of yourself for bringing that up. Andrea says, people will die if the economy tanks. They will. They will. But this is where it gets complicated, though. Like, I mean, people die all the time. That's the sad reality. But are we really going to be okay if 3 million people die and we could have prevented some of that? I mean, unfortunately, there are some people there who I know who've actually gotten to the point where it's like, well, 3 million people in a population of how many billions? It's not really that much, is it? And it's like, I don't ever want to think of it that way. I'm sorry, I just don't. But I do know what you're saying, though, because when you don't have work, you don't have money, you can't buy food, it's gonna get it's gonna get ugly, unfortunately. So, Driver Steve says, Linzer, I am not afraid of dying, but I am afraid of the process of dying. Well, that's why a lot of people, when they say they die, they'd like to go in their sleep. Hey, we go to sleep one night and we just don't wake up. But this thing right now, this sounds like a miserable way to die. So, Andre says, we are both independent contractors. Sorry. Yeah, you're, okay, well, have a good night, life-size box. We don't get state UI. We are living on savings. It won't last. No, I feel for you. I really do. In fact, the topic has come up a few times during live streams, particularly where people are having to do some real soul searching about the gig economy at this point, because some people, like, everything they do is the gig economy, and they really can't do it the way they used to, and they're not making the money they used to, and it's like, shoot, this isn't enough. And it's like, I know. I mean, thankfully you have a savings. Most people who come here do not have a savings, and they absolutely should. So you're a step ahead of the direction. I have a savings, but you know, if I have to start dipping into that, you're right. It will only last a few months, so it's scary. Josh says, Kevin, people will die from a lot more things other than the virus if this continues long term. I know, but will it be 3 million people dying? Like, that's the thing that people are thinking of. Like, we want to reduce that from happening. And here's another thing to consider. And this is how complicated it gets, folks. I know you're saying, hey, the economy is shutting down, people will die. You know what happens when 3 million people die? Those are 3 million essentially customers that don't buy goods and services, that don't return to the workforce, that don't engage in trade, and that will also hurt the economy, which means more people might die by extension, because the economy will be bad because 3 million people have died. It's not fun. It is not fun. So we still need to figure some things out, obviously. They're talking about a fourth stimulus bill. I think what we really should limit ourselves to 2 stimulus bills, because stimulus bills is basically borrowing from the future, and if you have savings, that's going to hurt you, but who knows. By the way, we have 40 people here. If you're enjoying the conversation so far, give it a thumbs up, and if you're disagreeing with the conversation, well, give it a thumbs down if you want, but let's show us that we're here. So anyway, Queen Brooksy says, opinion on Schumer's hero fund that he wants to add the next stimulus bill. Let me look that up real quick. I think I know what you're talking about. I think I know what you're talking about, but I want to make sure that I know what it is I'm talking about before before I comment on that. For the record, I do not like Chuck Schumer very much. Okay, so Democrats led by State Minority Leader Charles Schumer and others are looking to keep the multi-trillion-dollar spending spree triggered by this pandemic going on for as long as possible. Their latest proposal, what could be the 4th phase of the stimulus package, includes giving hazardous pay up to $25,000 to those on the front lines of the war against the virus, or, what they're calling it. So let's see here. So phase 1, $8 billion for health, aimed specifically for actual healthcare measures, was designed by lawmakers on March 8th. Okay, that I'm okay with. Phase 2, $100 billion for broader relief and an obvious larger scope designed to offer economic assistance to those hit hard by the pandemic. Probably necessary. Phase 3, $2 trillion for almost everyone. This is the big one, signed into law by President Donald Trump on March 27th. Most individuals with valid Social Security numbers are to receive at least $1,200 each. Businesses that have been hit hard by the health crisis will also get help. Wasn't happy about it. We probably need it though. And phase 4, $2 trillion for the hazard pay for essential workers and other costs under the large umbrella of infrastructure. Well, okay, it is what I thought it was. My opinion on that: I don't object to it. But I am a strong believer in, you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. I think I would not want that to pass unless it had some longer term ramifications, like, if you are an essential business, you essentially have to make a certain amount of money. Like, I think what this should be teaching people is essential services should not be minimum wage jobs. If they're essential, they need to pay a heck of a lot more money, because when crises like this occur, We cannot be asking them to risk their lives for $15 an hour, which is what the minimum wage is going to be at some point. It needs to be higher than a minimum wage. So I don't object to a 2 trillion hazard pay, but the thing is, I think long term we need to take better care of the people who are on the front lines, who do have to do these essential businesses, because they're the ones who are most likely going to get sick during this, and they have to go to work. So don't oppose it, but unless there's going to be some long-term thinking involved in it, I would rather it not pass. I would only want it to pass if included there's a plan going forward. So I hope that's fair. I hope that's fair, and if you don't agree with me, that's fine. We can definitely talk about that. All right. Have you watched most of the Criterion Collection Blu-rays you have? No, I've been watching a lot more of them though. And I'm writing scripts for the Criterion series that I'm working on. I'm actually going to be editing my first episode probably tomorrow. So I'm going to start getting into those though. John says Seattle will bounce back fast. Enough millionaires and billionaires there. Andrea says it was fine. Oh, okay, that must have been something I said. So thank you. Oh, my handshake. It was fine. Ben Rose says, do you think the movie theaters will come back even when a lot of movies getting delayed until 2021? Yes. In fact, one of the things that they're talking about with the movie theaters right now is theaters are already talking to studios about throwback movies they can have. Throwback movies, animes that never got big screen releases, to be showing in theaters again. And the idea is that the movies will basically be donated. So for a little bit of time, the theaters will get all of the money from the tickets and all the money from the concessions, and that will be their way of kind of beefing back up, if you will. So, and that would be a very temporary thing. But yeah, they will come back. And having older movies will also be there because you kind of got to get people accustomed to that again. So, what about a palm sweater handshake? Oh, hey Mark, how you doing? FTW Jester says it hasn't been normal since any of those, and 9/11 all security has changed. You used to be able to go to Mexico and Canada with no passport before 9/11. Well, that was never a good idea in the first place. So there you have it. That's my opinion on that. CDC website says about 34,000 plus people have died from the common flu from 2018 to 2019. Yes, and how many people have died from this creepy crud in the last few months? Over 88,000. And that number's going to grow. So Jody says, I think when this is all over, a lot of landlords are going to be taken to court. I think there will be. I think landlords are going to have to be forced, really, to come to agreements with the tenants because, I mean, here's the thing. There's stories of landlords who literally shut down malls, but that they told all the people who were tenants there, you still have to pay your rent though. And it's like, well, we can't do business, so we're not paying rent. They're going to have to come to an agreement. Mark says the doctor said this morning we are looking at 18 months. I don't know what doctor said that. Steven says, perhaps it will keep going if they let people out early. Oh, maybe. Sandyman said we should all bow to each other. Well, Japan does it. It works for them. Ben says, I meant, what was the main topic? Something about Fauci. Yeah, it's about handshakes. I mean, that's what the replay's for. Velazar said, I said people will use the same handshake method that Chinese use. No hands, just... Oh, okay. Andrea says, you disinfect, sterilize everything between each client with barbicide, which kills spores, fungus. Basically, it's hospital grade. I didn't know that. So, yeah, I can understand your frustration. So it sounds like... Yeah, now that you explain it like that, you probably should be allowed to keep doing that, since it does seem very safe, but they're really off. I think maybe one of their big concerns right now is the waiting room. I'm just going to go on a limb. If you have to wait in the waiting room, people congregate there. So, but if that's all their biggest concern, you think the hair industry could maybe come to an agreement with the government, hey, as long as we keep people outside and we tell them to keep, they can't come in unless they have an appointment. Maybe there's a way you can go back to work, but I don't know if someone's talking about that. So, Sexy Flexy says, "Do you order grocery through Instacart?" No. Mark says, "Kevin, you should be a comedian." Yeah, maybe I should. Andrea says it kills everything. Well, yeah, then you're right. I wish you could do that. Then it's just they don't consider it essential, and that's frustrating. Um, Sandyman says, "I doubt Hillary could have handled the situation." Oh no, she would have handled it. I mean, here's the thing. It's such a unique thing that it doesn't matter who was in office, they would have had a hard time, but it's such a hard time that basically people can handle it as best as they can. The worst you can do is nothing, but that's my opinion. So Rick says, yeah, like the tattoo disinfectant. I don't know anything about tattoos. Ryan says, do you have a large collection of Kino Labor Blu-rays? I'm not sure if you're as dedicated with them as you. No, I have a few, but no, I'm not as dedicated with them. You're right. Um, Boy, you are way sidetracked now. Well, it's a live stream. We'll do some. We'll go up and down and sideways, kind of like Quibi. By the way, did anyone go to my vlog channel and watch my quick thoughts on the Quibi service? It's an interesting app. Andrea says, my dad is one of those Christians. He doesn't care if he gets COVID, but he's being careful anyway because he doesn't want to spread it. That's wise. That is wise. I'm glad that your dad's like that, by the way. My dad's like that too, for the record. It's good. This is what you need to do things. Vinny says 3 million. I don't know. Hey, Jordan, how you doing? It is appointed to each man once to die and then the judgment. Yep. So, hey, thank you for the super chat, Thomas. I will drink to that. Why is it whenever you open any flight app, there are literally thousands of flights from all over the world, 27. I don't know. I don't know. Let me check JetBlue Airlines. JetBlue is the one that I fly the most. Full disclosure, I also have stock in JetBlue, so gotta be open about that. So round trip, or LAX to what the heck? Let's go to Orlando, Florida. Let's go Friday. Come back in a week. Search flights. Let's see how many there are. What happened? Please enter a valid city. Oh. Search flights. No flights have been found matching your search criteria. Well, at least on JetBlue, there does not appear to be too many flights. Like just so. But anyway, thanks for the $5. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Everybody says, I think how many drivers are rethinking how they will earn their money after this? I believe they will. By the way, I know we've got some new viewers. If you haven't given a thumbs up yet, please do. It helps us a lot. Normal AT&T says, hey, Kevin. Hey. Romeo says, man, anyone work at Starbucks? If yes, like they like working there or not, just asking, man. I know people who worked for Starbucks and they seem to like working for them. Starbucks is in an interesting position right now. If the Starbucks has a drive-through, they're allowed to stay open. If it's not a drive-through, but it's big, they'll let some people in. And if it's like a really small Starbucks, they're just closing those stores right now. Jordan says, if the economy doesn't get back on track soon, we will be dealing with a mental health pandemic next, though. I agree. I agree with that. RBX says, ghost flights to be able to keep gate assignments per contract. Oh, is that what's going on? Okay. Margaret V says, Uber is deactivating drivers for not doing maintenance, but they do not have green light stations open. Yeah, I know. Such is the hypocrisy of Uber. Vilazar said, remember Pope in the 90s selling stories about heaven, but goes out in the public hiding behind bulletproof glass? Well, again, that is not a fair question. When you are a public figure, people will try to shoot you, and a lot of crazy people want to shoot the Pope. So, look, you just don't need to do that, all right? You don't need to do that. Oh, in fact, if I see one more of those, I'm just gonna remove you. Are you getting depressed or having anxiety? I'm not getting depressed much. Actually, these live chats at night are definitely helping me out in that regard. But no, I'm getting a little anxious though. A few days ago, well, Friday specifically. What day is it? I don't know what day of the week is anymore. Soon we're gonna start changing the days to that day, yeah, yesterday, someday, any day, instead of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because we don't know what day it is. Um, on the last Friday, I believe, if I remember correctly, I did wake up, and for the first time since this all started, I kind of looked around, and I was kind of like, well, another fun day in the house. And so I felt a little bit, but spending time with my wife helps a lot. Watching serialized shows and classic movies helped a lot. Reading has been so helpful. Friday, Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out. I am so looking forward to that. It's like I hear it's long, so it's like I look forward to putting time into that. RPGs, great way to kill time. Have you bought any more Uber stock? I have. Their success is my success once everybody gets back there. No, I might. I don't know yet. If the Uber stock gets down to like $10, I might buy some more. But honestly, I think the stock is going to go to zero at some point. It's just a matter of when, in my opinion. Excuse me. So I don't know. Anthony says, have you heard about what the director of the World Health Organization said recently about suggesting taking people from their homes who are... No. Do not agree with that. In fact, that is stupid. That is so stupid. Boy, no wonder they're talking about defunding them. No, they don't need to go to a special camp or anything. They just need to stay indoors. They just need to stay inside. That's all they need to do. So, anyway. Andrea says, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think there will be serious civil unrest when people can't feed their families and lose their homes. I'm really worried that this could trigger the next depression. It could trigger the next depression. At the very least, it will trigger a recession, and there will be some civil unrest. But on the positive side, food's still getting out there, and some charity organizations have really stepped up their game. The thing is, Americans are strong during times of crisis. We really are. And that's one of the reasons why we can call ourselves one of the greatest nations in the world, because we do have that can-do attitude when we're all in something bad together. Some people will never, do that. They would rather party and be stupid and whatever. But the vast majority of people, it's like, okay, let's do this. So we could worry about that, but right now we're all getting our food. Really the only thing that we're not getting freely is toilet paper for whatever, because the hoarders are just hoarding that stuff. But I think we'll be fine. Hey, Anthony, thank you for the $2 super chat. I appreciate that. By the way, when you send a super chat, make sure to ask like a question or something, because that's definitely a good thing, good time to answer. So, oh yeah. By the way, one more thing, if I can do this right now. Well, I know I will go. Let me go to YouTube to do this. So I did not think this live stream would have so many people, and I'm having so much fun on this one. We might actually go to to 2 hours. You never know. So anyway, John says, who decides which jobs are essential and which aren't? I'm pretty sure everyone would consider their job essential. That is a tricky situation. I do agree. I think most jobs would be considered essential, if you will. But the question comes, and my power is running low. Okay, folks, I will be right back because my battery is dying. Let me get the charger. Uh, all right. Which one of these is the monitor? Let's plug this in. Oh, geez, I leave for just 1 minute and I lose 10 lives. 10 live subscribers. How funny. So, all right, let's continue. So, yeah, I essential, but when you have a situation where people mingling with one another is the problem, and that's what's causing things to happen, then you logically someone has to make that choice. Okay, well, what businesses can we live with and which ones can we live without? And so it's like, well, people need to eat. So if you sell food, that's considered an essential business. But you don't need a video game. So GameStop is not an essential business. And that's kind of what they're thinking. But then you get into that gray area where it's like Best Buy is considered an essential business because they sell phones, for example. But then Apple shut down their stores, and they did that voluntarily, it should be noted. But because they're all the small stores are small and all that jazz. So it is questionable. So Steve says, for anyone death is sad, I hope you can at least agree so less is better. Just saying. I personally agree with that. John says, I'm an essential worker on 3 counts, one of which is strictly voluntary first responder. Well, we appreciate you then. Ryan says, have you ever seen the movie Tiger Bay? The Criterion, what is that? The Criterion Collection has the distribution rights to it and was Haley Mills' first film. You really like Haley Mills? No, I've not seen that. What did it get on Rotten Tomatoes? 71%? Okay, yeah, might be good. I'm sure I'll buy it at some point. Let's see here. John says, okay, so are the banks going to come to some kind of agreement with the landlords? They'll probably have to. They will probably have to. And he also says, if we see a national reset saying all bills and everything for these 3 months to now be spread over the next 18 months, something to that effect might work. Yeah, I think something like that. I believe there's a compromise in here. It's just right now we're trying for people not to die as much as possible. But once that's out of the way, then it's like, okay, well, now let's figure out what to do about this. So, Andre says, did you hear about the reporter that asked Trump if he'd seen Tiger King and if he would consider pardoning Joe Exotic? That was funny. That was, I mean, and the thing is, you can tell by his response, he really hadn't heard of it. Like, he's like, well, look, I will look into that for sure, and I'll look into a pardon. Like, I mean, he's probably heard of that show, and then like the reporter asks him, and it's kind of like, yeah, I'll look into that. Like, that was, I thought that was hilarious personally. I mean, it's like, what are you reporters doing? Like, what's happened to journalism? It's like, geez, would my journalism teacher ever tell me to ask a question like that? How do you get your groceries? I get my groceries through Shipped. Steve says, Uber deacting for not doing maintenance. Maintenance on what? Am I missing something? Uber, you have to go in once in a while with Uber. Like, you have to go in and they have to make sure the car is working with functions that they want. That's what it is. But as they pointed out, all the green hubs are closed, so they can't check your car. Jody says, my son is 4. He has autism. He goes to music therapy every Tuesday and Thursday, but hasn't been for 2 months. But where he goes for his therapy, the landlord prick they're thinking might be closed for good. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I actually believe that music therapy is essential, but it's hard to convince a government official. Interestingly, it's hard to convince a government official that that's essential. But I think that I think that should be essential, and I hope that the landlord doesn't shut them down. It should be Wednesday in your area. Oh, by golly, you're right. It's Wednesday. Andrea says, if you want a classic thriller recommendation to watch, I highly suggest Sudden Fear with Joan Crawford. That's a great movie. I love that movie. I love that movie. That is a great movie. So, I mean, obviously, you know, I've seen it, but hey, that's great. Huh. 20 thumbs up and 6 thumbs down. That's less thumbs down than I thought I would have. I'm surprised. What happens when the food runs out? Well, the food's not running out right now. And keep in mind, folks, this is only going to be a few months. You're acting like we're going to be on lockdown for years. We're not. It's going to be a few months. Okay? Jordan says, has anyone heard an update from Peterson lately? I have not heard an update other than what I told you yesterday. Poor guy's at the bottom when he had the stroke. Well, he was definitely hurting. That's for certain. So all right. So 2 more thumbs up. Thank you. So okay, folks, we caught up. So okay, we've been here an hour, and people I think are getting. Andrea says I wasn't talking about food running out, more like money running out of people. Oh no, I know what you were saying. I know you. That was not a response to you, Andrea. That was a response to Sandy Man. Well, maybe that's what Sandy Man meant. Maybe Sandy Man was referring to what happens when you run out of food and you can't buy food. Maybe that's what he was thinking. But the way it read, from my perspective, was what happens when we run out of food, and it's like there's food out there. We're not running out of food. But yes, that's a problem if you can't buy food. So okay, that's what he meant. So that's where you have to start getting a little cutthroat. The good news is your body can go for days without food. You need water more than food, so make sure you're hydrated. But yeah, you buy food and then you ration it. I mean, that's unfortunately what has to happen, which is not ideal, I know. But yes, you're a mod now, because you've been coming for a long time, and I think you should have been a mod by now. So, all right. So, Jody says, I heard the government is not taking any more applications for welfare. I have heard that as well. Partly because they're so overloaded right now. So, all right, folks. Well, we've done this for an hour, a totally random topic, and a lot of people showed up, and we had a great conversation. So thank you for joining. It's 10:40. I'll be on Twitch live streaming a video game I'm playing. No comments, so it's not going to be very interactive. But hey, you want to come to Twitch and watch me live stream a game, you're free to do so. In the meantime, for everyone who's watching this after the fact, thank you for watching the whole video and the whole live stream. Sorry that you missed this live, but we look forward to having you next time. And hey, I'd like to know what your thoughts on any and all of this is. So you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. Yes, Andre, I agree. This was a lot of fun. Let's consider doing this again tomorrow night about 9 o'clock California time.